Before we begin, I want you to do something brave. Not loud, not dramatic, just honest. I want you to sit with yourself for a moment and ask, what is truly stopping me? Not what they said, not what happened years ago, not the economy, not the timing, not the noise of the world. What inside of you tightens when opportunity knocks? Because sometimes the biggest obstacle is not the mountain ahead, but the invisible weight we carry within. Tonight, we are not here to blame the world. We are here to meet the truth. And the truth is powerful, because once you see what's holding you back, you also discover that you have the strength to let it go. Self-doubt is not loud. It does not shout or slam doors. It whispers. It sits quietly beside your dreams and gently suggests that they are too big for you. It studies your past mistakes and presents them as evidence. It reminds you of the times you were rejected, overlooked, or misunderstood. And slowly, if you are not careful, you begin to believe it. You begin to shrink your ambitions to match the size of your fear. You begin to call your hesitation realism and your retreat wisdom. But self-doubt is neither wise nor realistic. It is simply fear wearing a thoughtful mask. It convinces you that you must be perfect before you begin, that you must know every step before taking the first one, that you must eliminate every flaw before you deserve to try. And so you wait. You wait until you feel confident. You wait until you feel ready. You wait until you feel worthy. But readiness is not a feeling that arrives like a letter in the mail. Confidence is not a gift handed to the chosen few. They are built in motion, shaped in effort, strengthened through action. The tragedy of self-doubt is not that it makes you cautious. The tragedy is that it keeps you still. There are dreams inside you that have been postponed, not because they are impossible, but because you questioned your ability to carry them. There are opportunities you stepped away from, conversations you did not start, risks you did not take, all because a quiet voice asked, "Who do you think you are?" And instead of answering with courage, you answered with silence. But consider this. Every person you admire has faced that same whisper. The difference is not that they never doubted themselves. The difference is that they did not let doubt make their decisions. Self-doubt builds a prison without bars. The walls are made of assumptions. The locks are made of comparison. You measure your beginning against someone else's middle and decide you do not belong in the race. You forget that growth is uneven, that mastery is messy, that progress often looks like failure before it looks like success. You forget that strength is not the absence of uncertainty, but the willingness to move through it. You are not required to silence self-doubt completely. You are required to refuse its authority. Let it speak if it must, but do not hand it the microphone of your life. Let it question you, but do not let it command you. Courage is not the elimination of fear. It is the decision that something else matters more. You have evidence of your capability written all over your history. You have survived moments that once felt unbearable. You have learned skills you once thought were beyond you. You have adapted, endured, and grown more times than you give yourself credit for. The same person who overcame those challenges is the person standing here now. The prison door of self-doubt is rarely locked from the outside. It opens the moment you decide that trying and failing is better than never trying at all. And when you step beyond it, you may still feel uncertainty, but you will also feel something stronger, possibility. Fear of failure has a way of disguising itself as protection. It tells you it is keeping you safe, keeping you realistic, keeping you from embarrassment. It persuades you to stay where the ground feels steady, even if that ground has never allowed you to grow. It paints worst-case scenarios so vividly that you begin to treat them as inevitable. And so you choose what is familiar over what is possible. You choose safety over expansion. You choose comfort over calling. But what is this safety you cling to? Is it truly safety, or is it stagnation dressed in softer clothes? When you avoid the risk of failure, you also avoid the possibility of transformation. You avoid discovering strengths you did not know you possessed. You avoid the lessons that only experience can teach. You avoid the resilience that is born not from ease, but from effort. Fear convinces you that falling is the worst outcome. Yet remaining still, year after year, watching your own potential go untouched, carries a far deeper cost. Failure is not a verdict on your worth. It is feedback. It is direction. It is refinement. Every skill you admire in others was once clumsy. Every expert was once uncertain. Every confident voice once trembled. The difference is not that they were guaranteed success. The difference is that they accepted the possibility of failure as part of the journey. They understood that falling short does not mean you are incapable. It means you are learning. Fear of failure often grows stronger when you tie your identity to your outcomes. If you believe that one unsuccessful attempt defines you, then of course you will hesitate to try. But you are not your results. You are your effort, your persistence, your willingness to stand up again. An unsuccessful attempt is an event, not a definition. It is a moment in time, not a measure of your value. Consider how many opportunities fear has already cost you. The ideas left unspoken, the projects left unfinished, the applications never submitted, the conversations avoided. In trying to avoid the pain of failing, you may have unknowingly accepted the quiet ache of regret. And regret has a way of lingering far longer than disappointment ever does. Courage is not found in guarantees. It is found in decision. It is found in saying, even if this does not work, I will still be standing. When you shift your focus from avoiding failure to pursuing growth, everything changes. The question stops being, what if I fail? And becomes, what might I become if I try? You cannot build confidence in theory. You build it through action, through attempting, through risking, through surviving outcomes that were not ideal and realizing that you are still whole. Fear loses its grip not when success is certain, but when you understand that failure cannot destroy you unless you let it define you. Possibility lives beyond the edge of safety. It asks you to step forward without a promise. And while fear will always offer you a smaller, quieter life, courage invites you into one that is fuller, richer, and undeniably yours. There is a subtle habit many people carry without realizing it, the habit of waiting, waiting for approval, waiting for validation, waiting for someone wiser, richer, older, or more powerful to say, yes, you may begin now. It feels respectful, it feels patient, it even feels responsible. But beneath that patience often lies hesitation rooted in doubt. You convince yourself that once someone believes in you, once someone endorses you, once someone opens the door for you, then you will finally step forward. Until then, you remain on the threshold of your own life. From childhood, you were taught to ask for permission, to raise your hand, to wait your turn, to seek approval before acting. And while guidance is valuable, there comes a moment in adulthood when constantly seeking permission becomes a quiet surrender of your own authority. You start to treat your dreams like requests instead of decisions. You present your ambitions carefully, watching faces for approval, adjusting your vision to make it more acceptable. Slowly, your dreams begin to shrink to fit other people's comfort. The truth is, not everyone will understand your calling. Not everyone will see what you see. Some will project their fears onto you. Some will measure your potential by their own limitations. And if you make their approval the condition for your action, you may wait forever. The world rarely sends formal invitations to become who you are meant to be. There is no official letter that declares you ready. There is no universal applause that signals it is safe to begin. Waiting for permission often disguises itself as preparation. You tell yourself you need one more course, one more connection, one more sign. But sometimes what you are truly waiting for is reassurance that you will not fail, that you will not be judged, that you will not disappoint anyone. And that reassurance may never come. because stepping into your purpose requires a level of self-trust that no external approval can replace. Consider how many capable, talented individuals remain unseen, not because they lack ability, but because they are still waiting to be chosen. They are waiting to be discovered, to be invited, to be recognized. Yet many of those who move forward do so not because they were selected, but because they selected themselves. They decided that their vision was valid, even without widespread agreement. They chose to act before the applause. You do not need unanimous support to pursue your goals. You need conviction. You need the quiet confidence to say, "This matters to me," and that is enough. There is a difference between arrogance and self-belief. Arrogance demands validation. Self-belief proceeds without it. When you stop waiting for permission, something shifts. You take ownership. You become responsible, not only for your choices, but for your growth. You stop asking whether you are allowed to dream big and start asking what steps are required to bring that dream to life. No one is coming to officially authorize your potential. No one will hand you a certificate that declares you worthy of trying. At some point, you must grant yourself the permission you have been seeking. And the moment you do, you move from waiting to living. There is a strange comfort that can grow inside discomfort. It sounds contradictory, yet it is real. You can become so accustomed to a certain kind of pain, a certain level of disappointment, a certain pattern of settling, that it begins to feel normal, predictable, manageable. You learn its rhythm. You know what to expect, and because you know it, you convince yourself it is safer to stay with it than to step into something uncertain. Familiar misery does not announce itself as a trap. It whispers that at least this way you will not be surprised. It tells you that even though you are unhappy, at least you are prepared. You remain in environments that drain you because you have adapted to the exhaustion. You stay in roles that diminish you because you have learned how to shrink quietly. You tolerate relationships that do not nurture you because you have memorized the cycle. The known pain becomes easier to carry than the unknown possibility of something better. The mind often prefers certainty over fulfillment. Even if that certainty comes with dissatisfaction, it feels controllable. Growth, on the other hand, is unpredictable. Change requires you to step away from what you have mastered, even if what you have mastered is simply enduring. And endurance can become an identity. You tell yourself you are strong because you can tolerate it. You call your survival resilience. But surviving is not the same as thriving. There is also fear hidden beneath this comfort. Fear that if you leave what is familiar, you may fail. Fear that if you demand more, you may lose what little stability you have. Fear that if you step into something new, you will not know how to navigate it. So you negotiate with your dissatisfaction. You say, "It is not that bad." You minimize your own longing. You silence the quiet voice that asks for more. But staying where it hurts slowly reshapes how you see yourself. When you repeatedly accept less than you deserve, you begin to believe that less is all you are qualified for. Your standards lower, your expectations narrow, your vision shrinks, not because you lack potential, but because you have adjusted to discomfort so thoroughly that it feels like home. Leaving familiar misery requires courage of a different kind. It is not loud or dramatic. It is the quiet decision to say, "This may be known, but it is not right for me." It is choosing temporary uncertainty over permanent dissatisfaction. It is accepting that growth may be uncomfortable, but it carries the promise of alignment, expansion, and renewal. You were not meant to build a life around tolerating pain. You were not meant to measure your strength by how much unhappiness you can endure. Real strength is found in your willingness to seek better, even when better is not guaranteed. It is found in trusting that you can handle change just as you have handled hardship. The familiar may feel safe, but safety without fulfillment slowly becomes another form of confinement. And sometimes the bravest step you can take is walking away from what you have learned to endure in order to discover what you are truly capable of experiencing. There is a voice that follows you everywhere. It speaks before you act, after you try, and long after the moment has passed. It comments on your appearance, your abilities, your decisions. It reminds you of what you should have said, what you should have done, who you should have been. This voice does not need an audience. It does not need proof. It simply speaks, and too often you listen without question. Negative inner dialogue is powerful because it sounds like you. It carries your tone, your memories, your private fears. It feels truthful, even when it is harsh. When something goes wrong, it does not say, "That was a mistake." It says, "You are a mistake." When you fall short, it does not say, "You can improve." It says, "You are not capable." Slowly, the criticism moves from your actions to your identity. And that shift is where the real damage begins. You would not speak to a friend the way you sometimes speak to yourself. You would not tell someone you care about that they are hopeless, incompetent, or unworthy because of one setback. Yet, in the privacy of your own thoughts, you allow words that diminish you to repeat unchecked. Over time, those thoughts shape your confidence. They influence your decisions. They determine whether you attempt something new or retreat before trying. This inner critic often forms from past experiences. A careless comment, a harsh judgment, a moment of embarrassment that lingered too long. You internalize those moments and turn them into a narrative. Now, before anyone else can question you, you question yourself. Before anyone else can criticize you, you criticize yourself first, believing it will somehow protect you from greater hurt. But self-criticism rarely protects. It restricts. When your internal dialogue is consistently negative, it narrows your world. You hesitate more. You second-guess more. You expect rejection before it arrives. You interpret neutral situations as personal failures. Even achievements lose their impact because the voice quickly shifts focus to what was imperfect. There is no room for pride, no space for acknowledgement, only a constant search for flaws. Yet the mind can be trained. Just as negative thoughts were practiced into habit, compassionate thoughts can be practiced into strength. This does not mean ignoring your weaknesses or pretending mistakes do not matter. It means speaking to yourself with fairness instead of cruelty. It means separating what you did from who you are. It means allowing growth without attaching shame. Imagine the difference if your inner voice became a mentor rather than a critic. Instead of saying, "You always fail," it says, "You can learn from this." Instead of declaring, "You are not good enough," it asks, "What can you do differently next time?" The tone shifts, the pressure eases, the possibility expands. The longest relationship you will ever have is with yourself. The words spoken in that relationship shape your confidence, your courage, and your capacity to move forward. If you continue to be your harshest critic, you will carry unnecessary weight into every opportunity. But if you choose to become your own steady support, you create a foundation strong enough to face challenges without tearing yourself down in the process. There is a habit that feels productive but quietly steals years from your life. It tells you that you are not delaying, you are preparing. You are researching a little more, planning a little longer, waiting for the perfect timing. You convince yourself that once everything is aligned, once you feel completely ready, then you will begin. Until then, you stay in motion without truly moving forward. Procrastination rarely looks like laziness. Often it looks responsible. You make lists, you organize ideas, you gather information, you tell yourself that starting now would be premature, but preparation becomes a disguise when it replaces action. There is always another video to watch, another article to read, another detail to refine. And while you are busy perfecting the blueprint, the building itself never begins. At the core of this delay is not a lack of ability, but fear. Fear that once you start, your work will be judged. Fear that effort will expose your weaknesses. Fear that the outcome will not match the vision in your mind. So you stay in the planning stage where nothing can fail, because nothing has truly been tested. In preparation, your dream remains flawless. In action, it becomes vulnerable. Waiting one more day feels harmless. It feels small. You tell yourself that tomorrow will make no difference. But tomorrows accumulate. Days become months. Months quietly turn into years. And the idea that once felt urgent slowly becomes distant. Not because it was impossible, but because it was postponed too many times. Perfection is often the silent partner of procrastination. You want the right conditions, the right mood, the right level of confidence. You believe that successful people act when they feel fully prepared. The truth is that most progress begins in uncertainty. Clarity often comes after movement, not before it. Skill improves through practice, not through prolonged hesitation. There is also comfort in delay. As long as you have not started, the dream is still intact. It has not faced rejection. It has not encountered obstacles. It has not revealed gaps in your knowledge. Beginning forces you to confront reality, and reality can be uncomfortable. So you remain in the safer space of intention, where you can say, I will, without ever testing, I did. But preparation has a purpose, and that purpose is action. Planning is valuable when it leads somewhere. Learning is powerful when it is applied. Reflection is useful when it results in movement. Without action, preparation becomes a loop, a cycle that feels busy but produces little change. You do not need perfect readiness to begin. You need willingness. You need to accept that growth will happen while you are in motion. The first step may be imperfect. The early attempts may be awkward, but progress belongs to those who start before they feel completely ready. The difference between intention and achievement is often a single decision. The decision to stop waiting for ideal conditions and to act with what you have now. One day can either be another excuse or the moment everything begins to shift. There is something more dangerous than fear, more limiting than failure, more paralyzing than doubt, and that is forgetting your own worth. Not losing it, not destroying it, but forgetting it. Because your worth does not disappear when you are rejected. It does not decrease when you make mistakes. It does not fade when others fail to recognize you. Yet when you forget it, you begin to live as though it was never there. Forgetting your worth happens slowly. It happens when you are overlooked too many times, when your efforts go unnoticed, when comparisons become constant, when criticism grows louder than encouragement. Little by little, you start measuring yourself through other people's reactions. If they applaud you, you feel valuable. If they ignore you, you question yourself. If they approve, you feel confident. If they disapprove, you shrink. And so your self-perception becomes unstable, rising and falling based on external validation. You begin to chase acceptance instead of alignment. You say yes when you want to say no. You settle for less than you desire because you are unsure you deserve more. You tolerate disrespect because you doubt you will find better. You silence your opinions because you fear they carry no weight. When you forget your worth, you negotiate your standards. You downplay your talents. You hesitate to take up space. You dim your light so others feel comfortable, not because you lack strength, but because you have lost sight of it. You start asking for less pay, less respect, less opportunity. You convince yourself that being grateful means being small, but your worth is not determined by applause. It is not defined by status, by income, by followers, or by comparison. It is inherent. It exists before achievement and remains after failure. It is not something you earn by being perfect. It is something you carry simply by being you. The tragedy of forgetting your worth is not that others undervalue you. It is that you begin to agree with them. You internalize limitations that were never yours. You accept narratives that do not reflect your true capacity. And once you believe you are less, you start living beneath your potential. Remembering your worth changes your posture. It changes your decisions. You stop chasing spaces where you are merely tolerated and start seeking spaces where you are valued. You stop over-explaining your boundaries. You stop apologizing for ambition. You stop shrinking to fit rooms you have outgrown. This does not mean arrogance. It does not mean believing you are better than others. It means understanding that you are not less. It means recognizing that your ideas, your presence, your voice carry significance. It means trusting that you deserve opportunities equal to your effort and respect equal to your humanity. When you remember your worth, you move differently. You choose differently. You expect differently. And the world often responds to the standard you set for yourself. The power you have been searching for externally has been within you all along. The moment you truly recognize it is the moment you stop settling for a life that is smaller than who you are, who you